Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of CoogsTalk. I'm Maanav alongside here with Mathew, and we've got some really great topics to talk about. First of all, we're jumping right into the Super Bowl. We had a great matchup on Sunday between the Chiefs and 49ers, and the Chiefs were able to officially start their dynasty with a 25-22 win in overtime. It was a truly tremendous performance on Patrick Mahomes, and Mathew, it was quite the game there. I think it was one of the all-time games in the Super Bowl. So, what did you think of the Chiefs' performance?
First and foremost, Patrick Mahomes, that guy, this game alone, not this game alone, but this game really cemented himself as a top 10 player in NFL history. This guy is a three-time Super Bowl winner. He's a three-time Super Bowl MVP, along with being a two-time regular season MVP, along with two first-team All-Pro selections. I mean, the guy at this young of an age is for sure the greatest player, not just quarterback, but player in this generation. And if we're looking at context speaking, the guy in the last two seasons has lost Tyreek Hill, a guy who's arguably the best wideout in the game, and of course his replacement was Juju Smith-Schuster, even though he was an above-average receiver, but he wasn't Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. And so, with that being in mind, without Tyreek Hill and just having Travis Kelce, even though Patrick Mahomes has one of the better defenses, if not the second best defense behind this year's defense of his career, the guy still managed to go 14-3. He was the MVP this year, with throwing for over 5,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, and only 12 INTs, with a high completion rating of 68%. I mean, and not even that. Like, going to the postseason, he beat a Jaguars team that came back from a 21-point deficit against the Chargers, and then going to the AFC Championship game against Joe Burrow, the same Joe Burrow that beat him the year prior. He beat Joe Burrow finally with a hurt ankle. And not even that, going into the Super Bowl, this guy was going up against a Eagles team that was the most complete team in all football that year. The Eagles team had an 1,000-yard rusher in Miles Sanders. He also had Devontae Smith. He also had A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, all of which were top 5, top 3 at their position. And Patrick Mahomes still managed, and also the Eagles had arguably the best defense in the league. So, and the fact that Patrick Mahomes did that with less help, and the following year, which is this year, this man was doubted all year. Not just him, but the whole entire team was doubted all year because of the lack of wideout talent that Mahomes had. And the fact that this man has done all of this with less help and go back-to-back Super Bowl back-to-back in Super Bowl wins in the last 2 years, which was never been done since Tom Brady in the 2004 season, in the Patriots in the 2004 season. I can't even put it into words. Like, if that not tell you that Patrick Mahomes is not a top 10 player of all time, then I don't know what is. Right?
Yeah, I think
you can take the spot.
Yeah, I think I was really, really impressed with Mahomes on offense. They were flat out carried by him, I think, in overtime. And that overtime drive, then before the end of regulation, for him to come through, they were down by 3 in each of those situations. Then he made that drive, made great plays with his legs as well. That's why I think he won the MVP. But both of those drives, before the end of regulation, then in overtime. And I thought this was a great game throughout. This is quite an even matchup between both of these teams. Chiefs are 9 out of 19 on third down. I think that was really crucial. 3-time MVP, you talked about that. Only Tom Brady and Joe Montana have done that. So he's right up there with the greatest of all time. I think he's already established himself as the most talented quarterback ever. And I think he's right there just below Tom Brady. and he's, who knows if he might catch up to him. He's only 28 years old. He might have another 12 years in him. And the Chiefs, back-to-back champions, first time in 20 years that has happened. This is a true dynasty. 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. Not a lot of teams have done that. And special teams is a big role in this game. That special teams fumble on the punt that allowed the Chiefs to score that touchdown. And then Jake Moody missed extra point that ultimately allowed the Chiefs to get that field goal at the end of regulation to send it into overtime. Mahomes, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick on 74% completion through 5 quarters. I mean, this game was a 5-quarter game. And in the playoffs, he's 14-3, which has just been absolutely incredible with 45 touchdown passes. I think he was the team's leading rusher as well with 66 yards, so over Pacheco. So, man, I mean, he was literally carrying this. This is pretty much an above average, just an above average, barely above average team that he led to the Super Bowl. Besides Kelsey, Besides Kelsey, he had Rashee Rice, who was a rookie, and MVS Marquez Valdez Scantling, who had drops, and then thank goodness Kadarius Toney was not activated for the Chiefs. Christian Watson. I mean, this was pretty much Christian Watson. I mean, it's pretty much an average team that he led to the Super Bowl. And what can you say about it? I mean, he's been down 10 in all the Super Bowls. He's won 3 of them. And I think this was one of the best Super Bowls I've seen, especially because the overtime rules were fair this time around. I thought the Niners, they just couldn't run the ball enough down the stretch. The Chiefs defense, they barely held on, but they're able to get that stop. And hats off to Steve Spagnuolo. What a tremendous defensive coordinator he's been. And then they limited them to field goals right before regulation and in overtime. That allowed the Chiefs to ultimately win the game. And to be honest, people are talking about how the Chiefs always get the calls. I thought the Niners were getting more of the calls.
Yeah, exactly.
They were getting the horse collar tackle earlier in the game. They got an intentional grounding against Mahomes, which I didn't think was intentional grounding. They weren't spotting the ball for the Chiefs. That trick play touchdown that they had, that was great.
He was outside of the line of scrimmage,
that was an illegal, correct. Yeah. He was an illegal that was an illegal man downfield. So Mahomes had to overcome those calls as well. So this guy, to me, he's the greatest quarterback of this generation, the greatest player of this generation, and I think he just might eclipse Tom Brady. Who knows how his career will end, but I just want to talk about Brock Purdy a little bit. That guy, he played tremendous. I thought Purdy definitely had a solid game. I thought he did what he needed to do. He missed a couple of throws here and there, but I think that game manager talk, that needs to go. This guy is a great, great quarterback. Didn't really make any mistakes. 61% completion, 255 yards. To be honest, George Kittle vanished in this game. Christian McCaffrey was great. Jennings was great. But I don't think his guys stepped up enough around him. And ultimately his defense just cost him. So I think that's pretty much, what happened in Super Bowl 58.
Yeah, and I will even go as far to say that, Kyle Shanahan, especially going into the second half of the Super Bowl, second half in the Super Bowl, I mean, that guy just keeps on making lots of mistakes, especially him not running the ball too much, not him running the ball a lot. I mean, especially with the missed throws that Brock Purdy was missing. Kyle Shanahan should have ran the ball a lot more often, especially going down the stretch, and that's probably the reason why they were having struggles trying to score a touchdown because of these mistakes that Kyle Shanahan was making, and that's been the moral of his career as of right now. I mean, the guy is 0-3 in Super Bowl appearances. 0-3. I mean, the first one is when he blew a 28-3 lead against the Tom Brady-led Patriots, and it's like I said, is the moral of his career. The guy haven't been able to win big games, especially against the Chiefs. I mean, this is twice against the Chiefs, especially against the likes of Andy Reid. And
this was the second time that he lost against the Chiefs. They're up 10 in the fourth quarter with 11 minutes to go. He blew that. Hats off to Mahomes and Kelsey in that. Kelsey had a great game, by the way, in the playoffs. Had that crazy thing on the sideline pushing Andy Reid, which was kind of unacceptable. But, when you win,
If
it's
it's a black player, he would probably get a
Well,
violation.
I don't know. I mean, he just, if it was, that's just the relationship they have. And I guess when you win, it turns out everything's good. And he had 9 catches, 93 yards, got it done. But I thought Shanahan called a decent game. But give credit to the Chiefs defense. They made some plays on the stretch to limit the run. I felt they should have given it to McCaffrey a little bit more. Fortunately for them, Dre Greenlaw went down. Deebo Samuel had a little bit of an injury to go with. But I thought it was a great Super Bowl overall. And Shanahan's 0-3 in the Super Bowl. That's just his legacy right now. So it was a great game.
And not just Kyle Shanahan's legacy. It's just the entire 49ers legacy. I mean, they always had the talent to make it, or even won multiple Super Bowls. They can really do that because they have the talent and the coaching to do so. It's just that those little circumstances that is really what's holding back.
Correct.
The injuries, such as like you said, Dre Greenlaw had a Achilles injury. He might be out for the entire season next year. And of course, Deebo Samuel had hamstring issues. George Kittle also had shoulder issues. And then let's go to the year prior, which is the NFC Championship game against the Eagles. Brock Purdy got injured during the second half because he can barely throw the football, and the backup quarterback can't really do anything. And that's the reason why the 49ers got smacked in the AFC Championship game. And then let's go to the year prior to that. Jimmy Garoppolo had one of the worst playoff runs statistically in football history. Look it up. That guy was absolute garbage throughout the playoffs. And he's the main reason, I will keep on saying this, he's the main reason why the 49ers did not make the Super Bowl that year. And of course, the year prior, the COVID year, majority of their starters got injured throughout the year, and they just could not. These backups could not make it up for what the starters can bring for this team, and so that's been the moral story of the 49ers. And I mean, there's not a lot of moves they really need to make. I mean, they already have the talent. I mean, first of all, the first move is to sign Brock Purdy to a massive contract, and if for some reason, if they don't win another Super Bowl, that can really affect their salary cap, because now you have to pay Brock Purdy along with all the elite guys on your roster. And so it's going to be really tough for the 49ers to keep all these players and or sign more players because of the Brock Purdy contract. Because now, I'm projecting that he's going to...
Yeah, I mean, now he deserves that contract to me. I thought, especially the way he played, and, just want to do a final point about the Super Bowl here. I thought, people take that Mahomes Super Bowl against Brady against him, and they also count that AFC Championship against him to say that he can never be on top of Brady. But you got to remember, in that 2019 AFC Championship game, he was a D Ford offside from reaching the Super Bowl that year. I mean, Tom Brady threw a game-losing interception, but D Ford was offside, and then you had the unfair overtime rules. And then you go to Super Bowl 55. Patrick Mahomes' offensive line was injured the entire time. He was under pressure right from the get-go. He really almost had no chance to win that game. So, I think Mahomes has a great shot, to reach Brady, and, we'll go ahead and, get into the NFL honors. I thought DeMeco Ryans was snubbed, as head coach of the year. I thought he did a tremendous job for the Texans, 10-7 division champs for the first time since 2019. I thought that was one of the issues I had with the honors. Otherwise, I thought they pretty much gave it to everyone deserved it. There was some talk about DeMar Hamlin not getting it, but I think Hamlin didn't do enough on the field to deserve it. So otherwise, I thought it was pretty fair. But DeMeco should have gotten it.
I honestly agree with that, and I have nothing against Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
I think that he's a really great coach.
Yeah.
He's among the top 5 coaches in the league. But DeMeco Ryans, what he did was unbelievable. I mean, this Texans team, before the season, they were projected to be one of the worst in the AFC. And the fact that they made it so far, all the way to 10 wins, they improved it from 4-11.
It was 4-12-1.
4 and 13, I believe.
I think they had a tie last year, so.
They had a tie last year, but even then, they improved from 4 wins to 6 wins. especially with this roster, they pretty much probably have. Well, of course, they added guys such as Steven Nelson. Of course, they drafted Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud, but
Tank Dell too.
and
Go
Tank Dell
Cougs.
too. But they didn't really make like a whole roster makeover, and the fact that DeMeco Ryans was able to improve this defense from one of the worst run defenses in the NFL last year to among the top 10, not just the top 10 run defense, but one of the 12 best defenses in the league, respectively. And of course, C.J. Stroud, being C.J. Stroud, being a top 5 player, not top 5 player at his position.
Correct.
You know, but aside from him, the fact that DeMeco Ryans took this despite adding guys such as Will Anderson and Steven Nelson, and but he pretty much had the same roster as before, and the fact that he elevated this roster from 4 wins to 6 wins, I mean, that's more than enough to say that he's the recipient for the Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think you look at the development of the defense, specifically Will Anderson, then you saw the emergence of Christian Harris at linebacker this year, Blake Cashman, Derek Stingley Jr. They all started playing really well under DeMeco Ryans, who's done a great job with this team defensively. And then overall with leadership, changing the culture, I thought that was a huge difference from last year to this year, getting fans in the building, supporting the team. And then, you know, CJ really carried that offense as well, doing his thing. But hats off to DeMeco. I thought from 4 wins to 10 wins, that's a huge turnaround that they had right there. So he deserved it. But
do you and regarding Texans, do you believe that the Texans can be a Super Bowl contender going into next year?
Yeah, you know, I definitely think they can, especially if they can make some good moves in the draft and free agency, get some additions. Number 2 wide receiver, I think they can definitely make a run. And C.J. Stroud is that guy. I mean, we've seen what he can do. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year. He broke so many records this year. I think he's that guy, and he can maybe beat Mahomes. We'll see. It's a tough task. But, you know, I think we'll, you know, get into the NBA here really quick. I think the Clippers have been a big storyline in NBA, the second best team in the West right now. I think they're heating up at the right time. James Harden's been playing well. He likes it in LA, which is a big thing, but who knows what he's going to do in the playoffs. I think that's obviously the most important thing with James Harden. Kawhi Leonard, he has been pretty good overall, 24, 6, and 4, 50% from the field, 90% from the free throw line. And Paul George as well has been shooting really, really great. And they've been playing great at home, 20-5 at home. They beaten some quality teams. They have a good bench with, you know, Russell Westbrook, Powell,
Amir
Plumlee.
Plumlee,
Yeah, and Ty Lue is a good head coach. But fact is, they just got to stay healthy, and then James Harden's got to get it done in the playoffs. He's been changing teams way too much, and he needs to figure his thing out and finally get it done, because I think this is a team that he has a chance to really do it in a West that's, you know, kind of a little bit open for them this year. I think for them to really make a run, when you have teams like the Thunder and Timberwolves up there, a Clippers team like this can really, yeah, the Nuggets are there, but I think this is the year where the Clippers can really make a run.
Oh yeah, like I definitely do see that. You know, especially going to the beginning of the season where they traded for James Harden. You know, for me and a lot of people did not really like the decision, because why bring in another star player? Borderline star player, where you have like an absolute deep bench. You also have not only that, but you got guys who are 3D guys, and also you got the best two-way guys in the league in Kawhi, PG. And as we, including me, as we started watching more of the Clippers, they started playing like a more trio. You know, these guys are playing shooting crazy efficient all over the field, and that's the reason. And the reason why it's like that, because James Harden's playmaking. James Harden's averaged at least like 10 assists per game.
Yeah, he's at 9 assists. Yeah,
9 assists around that area, and James Harden has been quietly one of the best playmakers not quietly. He's among the 5 best playmakers.
Yeah, he's always been a great passer.
Yeah, he's always been a great passer, and he He
developed that. Yeah, he developed that.
He became a great passer when he came here.
Yeah,
so,
he developed into
he
the
developed
passer,
into a because of looking at the likes of Steve Nash and all that, and he emulated his game somewhat. So, but going back to the Clippers, you know, James Harden creates so many opportunities for PG and Kawhi to operate, more easier opportunities, and they're playing more complementary basketball. And as long as they don't play too much iso ball, as long as they keep on making shots, then they're going to be among the dangerous teams in the NBA. And of course, like injuries and so far, I mean, it's unlikely, especially how healthy Kawhi is throughout the season. He's like playing miss about like less than 5 games, or it probably more than that. I'm not really sure, but I do know that Kawhi Leonard has been more healthier than usual than compared to the season prior.
Yeah.
And so, I truly think that the Clippers are definitely a championship contender. They're definitely, and of course, defensively speaking, they got the rim protector in Vika Zubiak. He's also a great roller, and of course, like I said, a great rim protector. And of course, you got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, long defensive guys that can really create problems for especially guys such as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, especially against him earlier in the season, where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was struggling to shoot the basketball, especially trying to get to his bread and butter. How versatile defensively Paul George and Kawhi Leonard is in terms of guarding the perimeter.
Yeah.
And so, and of course, you got other defensive guys such as Russell Westbrook, who's a really good perimeter defender. He's proven that in the playoffs, and also Terrence Mann is also a great guy.
He's
Amir Coffey too.
Yep.
Norman Powell. I mean, they
Powell's
got defenders all over the roster, and of course, like being arguably like one of the 3 best shooting teams in the league, and they pretty much had the perfect blend for them to really make it far in the playoffs. It just really goes, like I said, really goes to show. Really, it really comes down to Harden.
Delivering in the playoffs.
And that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I know that's what it's going to come down to. Whether they can get it done in the playoffs, they have all the talent, but we'll see if they can get it done. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of CoogsTalk. I am Maanav, alongside here with Matthew. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.